our great general, came to the world, respected people all. They told me that, 1 year ago your country was dead, and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So that's the way it is, and that's the way we like it. And it's only going to get hotter. I promise you that.
That's global
After that
warming.
spectacular display of American power, let me just say that God bless the United States military and God bless the USA. God bless the USA. And to all Americans, I want to wish you a very happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July. This is going to be something special. The spirit in this country, we haven't seen anything like it in many, many years and decades. Let me also express our gratitude to our magnificent First Lady. She worked very hard to make this all work. And we have a fireworks display about 9 o'clock tonight. I hope you're all going to be around and watch it. I know our congressmen and our senators who are standing right here, so many of them, they did such a great job. They're going to be here. I guarantee you, they're not leaving. They're not leaving. Thanks as well to the National Park Service, the USO, and countless friends and distinguished guests. We have so many people in the audience that have so much to do with the success of our country. I think had probably the most successful almost 6 months as the president and the presidency. I think they're saying it was the best 6 months, and I know for a fact they're saying the last 2 weeks there has never been anything like it as far as winning.
I feel like it's been like 2 years.
So as you know, 2 weeks ago, our incredible Air Force pilots conducted one of the most successful military strikes in all of history, Operation Midnight Hammer, and that's exactly what it was. It was a hammer. This evening, we're honored to be joined by 150 airmen and their families from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, home of the B-2 bomber.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And we've kept them a little bit on guard. We kept them a little bit, let's be a little bit quiet about it. But if you want to raise your hand very quickly, raise your hand, because you people are just incredible. They don't want to be in disguise, They say, we don't have to do that. They're looking at us like we're a bunch of babies. We don't have to be in disguise. We saw all those hands go up. Thank you very much. We owe you everything. Great job. Incredible. Just flawless. One of the most flawless military campaigns in the history of our country. If you remember years ago, they had helicopters crashing into each other. It was a disaster. The hostages in Iraq. And we had just the opposite. We didn't have any crashes. We didn't lose any planes. We didn't lose anybody. Those beautiful planes that you saw were totally stealth. They flew right over the center of a very hostile country, and they never even saw it coming. And then they said, skedaddle. They dropped the bombs. They said, skedaddle. And that big sucker turned over like this on its side, and it got out of there. Well, I'll tell you what, how they do that, they can do it. I asked our great General Kane, how do they do that? Do they really love doing that? Look at them, they're all laughing. And they said, do they really like doing it, sir? They can't wait. Better you than me. That's all I can say. It was a flawless mission. Every single bomb hit, and it was total obliteration. Total obliteration. Now, even the fake news is admitting that. They hated to admit it, but they had no choice. That was an incredible thing. And these heroic pilots showed our enemies what it means to fly, fight, and win. To every service member who supported that mission, and we have many of them here. We've made we've made you proud by supporting, but you've made us even prouder by having the courage to get in those gorgeous machines and fly through the roughest airspace anywhere in the world. And we salute you. And we honor you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
So he about to sign the bill?
And we're also honored and delighted to be joined by hundreds of service members and military families. Those families are the best we have. From all across the U.S. Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, Space Force. I love the Space Force. You know why?
No script, boys.
We're the ones that did it.
That's right.
Turned out to be a very invaluable force, actually. The Coast Guard and the Marines are incredible people. On behalf of our entire nation, this 4th of July, we thank you for keeping America safe, strong, sovereign, and free. Thank you very much for being here. Great honor. And stick around for the fireworks. And our country's had so much to celebrate this Independence Day as we enter our 249th year. America's winning, winning, winning like never before. We're not, I'll tell you, we're in a category now that's where we've wanted to be for a long time. We suffered with 4 horrible years of embarrassment. Afghanistan may be the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. We're never going to let a thing like that happen again. Trillions of dollars are pouring into the United States for investment purposes. Almost $15 trillion. There's never been anything like it. There's never been anything even close. The stock market's at an all-time high. Jobs are at an all-time high. Everything's at an all-time high. And we're going to keep it that way. We're the greatest country in the world, and we're back. We're back like nobody thought possible this quickly. I thought it would take maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe even 3. And we did it in less than 6 months. So we are back and strong. We've restored American strength and returned on the world stage. We respect it again. The world is respecting us again. When we did NATO, those leaders came up to me and they said, you know what, we're going to go to a new level of spending because you're requesting it, sir. They didn't talk to you last president like that, I can tell you. They didn't spend any money. They didn't spend anything. In a few moments, we're going to make official the greatest victory yet when I signed the one big, beautiful bill. And before I start, I want to tell you that
on the 4th of fucking July,
I've never seen people so happy in our country because of that. Because so many different groups of people are being taken care of, the military, civilians of all types, jobs of all types. We're adding things like the biggest tax cut in the history of our country.
How? How? Okay. I don't think I can kill him.
I found a family out here in space, and I'll do whatever it takes to
Hi,
capture
hello there. I didn't have upper echelon being an idiot again in my 2025 bingo card, but here we are. This guy was already engaging in massive clownery back during the Assassin's Creed Shadows launch, which I covered here, link in the top comment if you're interested, and now he's at it again trying to defend pirate software, sort of. It's complicated, but it'll make sense in the end. And of course it's pertaining to the recent situation with the Stop Killing Games initiative. So anyway, sit back, relax, and let's get into how stupid his video was, while also drawing some more attention for the Stop Killing Games initiative. I'll be touching on some relevant things along the way. Ever since pirate software's crash out, this gained quite a bit of momentum again, and the signatures are almost at 1 million. We're very close, so fingers crossed. We should go a little bit over 1 million, so that we can account for fake signatures and mistakes. So to any EU citizens watching this who have signed, remember that if you've got family members or friends around, they can sign too, and if you haven't signed yet, I hope you can find some valid reasons to do so as we go through this video. If you are a UK citizen, you have your own version of it as well, and if you're not from the UK or the EU, the best that you can do is just share the word, and the worst thing you can do is fake a signature. Trust me, nothing gets through EU bureaucracy.
My name is Derek.
However, despite this, on this video we're mostly going to be focusing on the sheer stupidity of this guy's take on the matter. It's going to get crazy as he finally starts some rather nonsensical take. Links to the EU and UK initiatives will be down in the top comments, so without further ado, let's jump in.
Trying to give some insights on what I think is really happening with the pirate software situation, and explain why nothing here actually matters, because the internet mob will probably never get it. For anyone who's relatively unaware, even news about this guy has been ping-ponging around various platforms like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok for, like, I don't know, 6 months straight. Pirate Software is an ex-Blizzard streamer, and lately, he's kind of a lolcow, for those of you who don't follow sort of deep internet lore. Lolcow is a Kiwi Farms term, which means someone who can be milked for laughs. Actually, it goes even further than that, widely used to refer to someone named Chris Chan initially. But Kiwi Farms is probably the most widely recognized platform where it typically resides. It's basically someone who does stupid things, has ridiculous opinions, and gets easily goaded into various behaviors that other people find to be ridiculous, incorrect, or just plain cringe. Examples of other streamers that are widely considered to be lolcows would be Darkside Phil, of course, also known as DSP, Wings of Redemption, or even maybe Boogie2988 in recent years. In all honesty, it's really not a pleasant thing. These people are ridiculed, insulted, and often degraded for entertainment purposes by tens of thousands of viewers. But if we're trying to make sense of the current situation, the Pirate Software situation that is, we have to understand that widespread mockery and ridicule is a core component of what's happening right now.
Trees make good friends.
So he starts the video with all of this lolcow lore and context, and I don't get why. Or at least I didn't at the time, but now I do after finishing his video and this script. I actually went through this point by point without watching the whole thing first, so that each reaction and response is genuine. So this made no sense as an introduction, but at some points, like right now, I'll be doing a little post-scriptum sort of thing to contextualize some things. I gotta say, after the barrage of nonsense that is coming soon after this, I understand what he was trying to set up here with the lolcow stuff, but it just doesn't work. Of all the people for him to choose as lolcows, he definitely picked the wrong ones if what he was trying to do here was to get people to empathize with or humanize Pirate Software and his situation. In general, for the description that he gave, these were really bad choices because each and every single one of them has done a lot of bad shit, although of course DSP and Boogie take the cake. Upper Echelon is over here trying to paint these people as poor perpetual victims of the internet or something, but they aren't. These aren't random people who simply got targeted and goaded for online ridicule out of nowhere. They got there themselves, all on their own via reprehensible behaviors that they uploaded themselves or made part of their online personas. Hell, we're in July right now. It has actually now been 1 year since Boogie was exposed for faking cancer. Happy birthday, Boogie, you piece of shit. In just the same way that people can become lolcows, they can redeem themselves, all based on their own actions, which is what Wings of Redemption has kind of been going through lately. So I don't know what the fuck this is all about. Anyway, let's move on.
Here's a lightning fast summary of how it all went bad for him, before I try to explain, in my opinion, why it will never end in the way that most people seem to want to. Back about 5 or 6 months, Pirate Software was part of a classic WoW guild called OnlyFangs. The guild contained a pretty hefty number of large streamers, that was like the word purpose of it, and as a result, had millions upon millions of viewers for almost everything they did. During the daily activities of the guild, Pirate Software ran into a situation where his group, or the group of his team, who wasn't the leader, made some mistakes. Being that the game is hardcore, if you die, there's no coming back. So after the mistakes were made, the group fractured and communication broke down. During the chaos, Pirate Software ran for his life and basically adopted a sort of every man for himself mentality, which didn't necessarily kill his teammates, but he probably could have helped save them. Basically, he just played super badly. Okay, that's it. When you're talking about the hardcore online gaming communities, that's like the cardinal sin of group hunt. Not to mention the fact that he purports to be extremely good at the game, which resulted in a tidal wave of criticism against him. Nicknames, like if we called him Roach, things like that, memes, and to be completely honest with you, whether or not you think it's deserved, harassment, okay? People harass him.
What? Why is he talking about some random World of Warcraft nonsense? The primary reason people don't like Pirate Software, at least at the moment, and have had him slowly becoming a lolcow, are his bad takes when it comes to gaming, coupled together with his inability to not bring up how many years he's been working in the industry.
Hi, my name is Jason Thornhall, also known as Pirate Software Online. I've been in the gaming industry for about 20 years. I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment, then Amazon Game Studios, and now I own my own studio, Pirate Software, by the same name, which is an indie studio, and I've been here for about 8 years.
I've been a developer since 1865. Like, he presents himself as someone who knows a lot and speaks with a great deal of experience in the games industry because he worked at Blizzard, only to then get shit preposterously wrong and never admit to it, always doubling down that he's right and being a roach in other ways, like for example...
What if I told you that all of your complaints, the broken promises, even the games that you wish for would be used against you? What if I told you that the day before one of the most hilariously bad video game scams in video game history was nothing but a prelude? This isn't fact or fiction. Look, there are a lot of people that are out there that want your money. Some people want to earn it. Other people, they'd much rather steal it. And in this golden age of technology, your boy has stumbled upon a little bit of a rabbit hole. And when I came out on the other side, I realized that things are going to get far worse than people could ever imagine. Actually, they already are bad to begin with. I'm talking about fake games made by fake people. That's right, they don't exist. Well, they kind of exist, but not really at the exact same time. They still want your money regardless. In a world where we have to ask, is that AI? Am I AI?
Get ready.
We're gonna see a wave of games, fake games, crash into the video game market, selling dreams and disappearing in a puff of smoke. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about the good and bad of generative AI in video games, a few developments that we just saw recently, how quickly this technology is getting out of hand, how it might be used to create the games of your dreams, or how it's eventually going to be used to steal them. The only thing that's protecting you is Steam. Now, fake games aren't anything new. One of my favorite videos by Super iPad Wolf dives into this very idea, showcasing fan-made mock-ups, crossover dreams, and bizarre what-if scenarios, stuff like if Pokemon was reimagined in its original concept art, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure adapted into a light novel, or my favorite, which is the Game Boy Breaking Bad, where the entire cast turns into cosmic horrors and fights in the streets. That kind of creativity has always been a beloved part of gaming culture, but the term fake game is about to mean something very, very different. The most prolific example of a fake game that we've ever seen was The Day Before, which launched a couple years ago. Its early trailer looked like it was every gamer's wet dream. Polished visuals, tight gunplay, and toned. It felt like it was ripped straight out of The Division, a zombie survival horror MMO with AAA flair. It's like it was made by the gamers themselves. It quickly rose to the most wishlisted game on Steam. It stayed that way up until the game's launch, but as that release neared, red flags started to pile up. The devs said that they needed more developers, but only wanted volunteers. Then they suddenly announced that they wanted to switch their engines just a year before launch, and when the game finally dropped, it was a barely functioning asset flip. The game was pulled from Steam almost immediately, and refunds went out across the board. It was one of the most blatant scams that we've ever seen, and a reminder that today's tools make it dangerously easy to fake legitimacy. For every small team that's using that tech to be able to make something amazing, like Expedition 33, there will be others who are going to mislead you, whether they mean to or not. Now, I'm bringing this up because last week somebody walked into one of my live streams and asked me if I'd seen a trailer for a game called Ball Buds. Said Asmongold had reacted to it and they thought that it looked cool and wanted to see if I wanted to check it out. So I pulled it up, and what I basically found was a more unhinged version of Palworld, a game that was calling itself a game made for grown-ass adults. The trailer was weird, but the overall concept was actually pretty cool. I like the idea of a happy-go-lucky creature collector during the day and a survival horror game at night, but it was also completely fake. Everything in it, character animations, character designs, environments, moment-to-moment gameplay, it was all stitched together with AI. You can see it in the visual inconsistencies, the uncanny movements, the work-defined characters whose hands literally change when they go to lockpick, and yet, in the YouTube comments of that video, even in my chat, people were convinced that it was a real game. Hell, there was somebody in the comment section of that VOD that was pushing back against my comment, saying Ball Buds looks awesome and dude is confused. I have no idea if that trailer is AI. Who cares? But it's obvious it's not real gameplay, but a vertical slice proof of concept CGI trailer. That's not up for debate. Literally everyone can see it. What is debatable is if it's fake or AI. It's not obvious that it's fake. Oh no. Guys, we might be cooked. Yes, it matters. Of course it matters if a trailer is fake, especially when it's attached to any kind of funding or a call for money. It matters when anyone, and I mean anyone, can generate a convincing game trailer using AI, especially if they have zero ability to actually deliver on what they're selling. Just to prove this point, I spent 20 minutes, literally 20 minutes, in a free trial of Google Flow. No effort, lazy prompts, no editing, and I still walked away with some passable gameplay footage of an action RPG, relatively consistent art and visuals. Now I want you guys to imagine what somebody could do if they were actually trying. Now, I want to be clear, I realize that this is probably not a popular opinion, but I am not anti-AI. I think that using generative footage to be able to visualize your game is a smart idea. It can save you time, it can save you money, best interest, and help solo developers who aren't artists themselves and can't afford concept artists be able to make their game. There is nothing wrong with that. But when the entire thing is fake and you're not disclosing it, when your trailer is AI generated, when your website says nothing, and both of those things link to pre-orders as if this game is already deep in development, that is not creative marketing. That, for all accounts, looks like a scam. Hell, they even use blurry images of the Epic Games, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation logos on their page, signaling that it would be available for sale on those platforms. Something that you are only allowed to do if you are an approved developer with a signed agreement or in distribution talks, which, as far as I can tell, it isn't. Intrigued, I dug deeper. The Kickstarter page was essentially just a copy-paste of the website, same trailer clips, paragraphs, no new details or insights into who or how this game is being made. The campaign hasn't launched yet, so no money has changed hands, but it already has over 700 followers, which suggests that there are people that are at least watching, maybe even planning to back this the minute that it goes live. The listed creator, John the Chairman Lau, uses a profile picture that several AI detection tools flag as synthetic, and while those tools aren't perfect, it still raises yet another red flag. And on Twitter, well, things got even weirder because I came across a second account under that exact same name, John Lau, engaging with Ballbud's posts as if they were just another excited fan. But that account is over 2 years old and has no post history outside of liking those trailers, replying to Ballbud's tweets, and arguing with other commenters. Now, all this could be intentional or it could be nothing. It might genuinely just be somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Maybe they saw how much money indie games are making right now and they decided, you know what, I'm going to change careers. And they figured that AI was going to be able to help them make it until they make it. But even if that's the case, even if there's no malicious intent, the use of AI has to be disclosed. Otherwise, it's misleading by default. When you present AI-generated footage as real gameplay, when you show off a game that doesn't actually exist and ask people to support it, that crosses a line, intentional or not. Looking into all this made something painfully clear that this technology is moving way faster than most people realize, and it's putting players at risk, it's putting customers at risk, because we've already seen scams on Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and other crowdsourcing platforms, games designed to hit every single complaint that you have, every nostalgia-fueled dream that you've ever posted online with zero intention or ability to actually deliver. Some of them will throw out a barely functioning pre-alpha build just to be able to buy some time. Others will just vanish entirely, and now with tools like Google Veo, Sora, and Runway, it's only going to get worse. Right now, the signs are still there. Maybe something looks uncanny. Maybe the movement is off. Maybe you just feel it in your gut. You can't explain why, but that window is closing. These AI-generated trailers are getting more convincing by the month, and eventually, they're going to be indistinguishable from the real thing, even for the people that know what they're looking for. And that's what makes this also dangerous, because this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's been happening at the exact moment that players are starting to look elsewhere. We've been burned by unfinished launches, live service failures, monetization, and games entirely disconnected from their audiences. We are done with AAA. People are so tired. So we turn to something else. We turn to developers who actually care. We turn to indie. And that's what makes this also worrying, because indie games have never been more respected. They have never had more goodwill or trust from players. For the first time in decades, small teams are getting the kind of support that AAA used to enjoy, bringing arguably some of the best gaming experiences that we have seen in years, and that makes it the perfect moment for bad actors to slip in and take advantage of that trust, that support, and your generosity. You guys already know that I am insanely protective of the indie game scene. I will always talk about their games, promote their games, defend their games if necessary, because from my perspective, they represent the changing of the old guard. The opportunity for a fresh start, a chance to play games as they should be made and for the right reasons. And we have been spoiled by these. I mean, we've had so many premium, AA, and indie games released over the past couple of years. My backlog is in tears right now. But that faith and goodwill that we have afforded to indie developers will eventually be used against us. It's already been used against people. Right now, you have people that are out there that are seeing these indie developers become overnight millionaires. Tyler, Schedule 1, that game sold over 6 million units. He made over $100 million self-published. People want a piece of that. Essentially, what we're going to see is the same thing we saw with the mobile app. For you guys that don't remember, back when we got rid of the phone, we went to the smartphone. Well, everybody saw these tech bros making millions of dollars making these apps, and everybody thought to themselves, I can do the same thing myself. A ton of people with a lot of ideas, but no way to actually make anything, and no ability to be able to make anything. A lot of people selling ideas with no intention or ability to be able to make it. Right now, the difference between then and now is that we have tools to make something believable. Not to make something real, but to make something believable. And people are going to sell that. People are going to push that. They're going to make their AI trailers for all kinds of different things, whether it's products, whether it's video games, whether it's television shows or movies, and they're going to push it. You're going to have people that are out there, and this is the other part of it. You're going to have people that are going to believe that they can do it and are going to sell it even when they can't actually do it. And you're also going to have some people that genuinely have no interest whatsoever in making it, knowing they won't and sell it to you. Either way, they're going to be taking it. So the question ends up becoming, what do we do? Are we even protected? The answer to that is, it's all on you. Right now, the technology has advanced simply too fast for any law or protection to be able to get in place to be able to protect anybody from it. And in a lot of cases, to be honest with you guys, I don't even really want it to be hindered because that might have an impact on the potential positives from its progress. What this comes down to is its platform builders, retailers. They're the ones that are responsible for protecting their customers. And right now, there's only one platform that's doing it. Now, this is more of a personal stance, but when it comes to early access games, or honestly any game in general anymore, I do not trust most of them. I know that there have been some success stories through Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and the like, but I have never felt confident putting my money in those places. I only invest in places where I feel like the customer's interests actually come first, and in this industry, that is an incredibly short list. Right now, there's really only one platform that is actively trying to protect and inform its users, and that's Steam. I've checked PlayStation, Xbox, the Game Store, hell, even GOG, and none of them had any mention of AI disclosure or protection. At the start of 2024, before generative AI really exploded, Valve had quietly updated its policies. They didn't ban the use of AI, but they did something smarter. They required transparency. Developers using generative tools would now have to disclose its use, filed under two different categories: pre-generated content like AI-generated art, code, and music, and live-generated content, meaning anything that's produced by an AI while the game is running. This, from my perspective, was a universal Steam W yet again. They are not blocking progress, but instead, they are just ensuring that players know what they are buying. If somebody wants to avoid AI-made content, they can. If they don't want to, that's fine, but at least the choice is there. Actually, this came up recently with a game called The Alters, a sci-fi survival base builder that is currently one of the highest rated games this year, but it came under fire for reportedly using generative AI without disclosing it, which could put it in Valve's crosshairs. According to IGN and others, translations as well as background art assets were AI generated. One even included a leftover prompt, something that read something like, "Okay, I'll make another captain's log entry based on science fiction and cosmic elements." 11-Bit Studios, the creator of the game, actually admitted to it and apologized and said that content was not supposed to ship. It was placeholder art and temporary text that just slipped through. Now, I'm going to be straight with you guys. I do not care. I've been playing The Alters. It's a fantastic game, and if they had to use AI to be able to streamline their processes to make the game as great as they made it, then I have no issues with whatever means it took to make that game. I I am a customer first. While I appreciate the effort, I do not derive value from effort. I derive it from the quality of the product itself. But that didn't stop games media from trying to make controversy. Pescar of the game wrote an article in response to the alters titled "The Alters Not Disclosing AI Usage is an Ill Omen of Things to Come," where they first discuss the claims against the alters and then move on to why they believe disclosure matters. On that section on disclosure, they write, "The disclosure matters. It matters to Valve because it has to protect itself from potential legal issues, but it also matters to players who want to distance themselves from games that include AI-generated content. After all, gamers love to vote with their wallets, and they should be able to do so with full knowledge of what a game includes." But perhaps more importantly, every game that ignores the disclosure is a splash of oil on an already slippery slope. It appears that Valve doesn't actually enforce its anti-AI rules. A game that fails to disclose AI use isn't removed from the storefront until it adds a disclosure. As far as I can tell, it isn't penalized in any way. Black Ops 6 remained on Steam throughout the controversy, and while it did eventually add an AI disclosure, that was likely due to player backlash and not pressure from Valve. The worst part of all of this is that people have to actively hunt for signs of AI usage to know if it's being used. I would have never zoomed in to read a text crawl, but we kind of have to nowadays since it's everywhere. We can't just enjoy media anymore. Life is a constant witch hunt for weird text, strange images, the wrong number of fingers on a hand. A lot of people who don't want to engage with generative AI on any level can't trust studios to be honest using it, and it's changing the way that we engage with things. Right now, I wish I could just zip into one of my own alters timelines where we can absolutely still enjoy media. And honestly, if you are spending most of your time obsessively zooming into every single piece of text, video, or background image to be able to sniff out whether AI was used, well, you probably got bigger problems to worry about. But with that said, I do think disclosure matters. But it only matters right now, and it only matters to some people and only in very specific ways. The reasons that most customers in the gaming space really care about AI isn't because of the lack of human labor or ethical concerns, it's about quality. Generative content is just mediocre. It does not give you incredible results. It rarely hits what you're asking it to do. You get weird hands, bugged out faces, repetitive art, and dialogue that sounds like it's a parody of itself. It breaks immersion, and that's what players are actually responding to. From a customer perspective, value comes from the quality of the product, not from the effort that went into making it. I just don't understand how some of these people can't see that. Just look at Dragon Age the Veilguard. They pushed back on the criticisms that were made against their game, and they said that they made the best game that they could. But that effort doesn't really mean a whole lot when nobody actually wants to play what you made. Meanwhile, Schedule 1, which was made with a fraction of the time, with no budget or care for fidelity, no perceived storytelling or flashy mechanics, that game sold over 6 million copies. I do think that there's valid concerns around job loss and where this tech can take us in the long term, but once AI content becomes more consistent and more normalized, most people will not care if it's used, especially if they are getting what they want. I mean, everybody knows how phones are made. We know where they're made and under what conditions, yet everybody is walking around with one in their hands. It feels pretty obvious at this point that generative AI is only going to become more common. It is going to show up in every industry, in every walk of life, whether you like it or not. And honestly, I'm not particularly bothered by that. The genie's already out of the bottle, and at the end of the day, it's a tool, a powerful, disruptive tool, for sure, but still a piece of technology. And like any major technological shift, it is going to lead to faster workflows, fewer bottlenecks, probably higher quality work done with a lot less effort. Right now, the games industry is stuck in this really weird split where generative AI is either embraced or demonized. There is no middle ground. There is no nuance. It is either the best thing that has ever happened to game development or it is the death of the industry as we know it. On one side, you got some real concerns, like those Xbox layoffs. Don't worry, we'll be talking about those next week, where over 9,000 people were let go. But according to Matt Piscatella at Sakana, those cuts were not about profit margins. They were about reallocating resources to build AI infrastructure. And that is horrifying to some people, not necessarily to me. Now, on the other side, you've got smaller, more focused teams that are using those very same tools to create things that they never could have pulled off otherwise. From a business perspective, I see it this way. You either get in front of it or you get swept underneath it. And while I understand that people are worried, genuinely, this tech is not going to slow down. fighting against it doesn't stop its momentum. It's just going to increase the risk of being left behind. I'm one of those people where I don't outright condemn it, but I do understand the risk. And personally, I have no issue with developers using generative AI to be able to help make their games, as long as the end result is worth my money and the time that I invest in it. That is all this comes down to. This technology can help teams build faster with more flexibility and without needing a 300-person payroll. But like any tool, it works best in the hands of someone with actual skill, talent, and vision. With that said, I do think that games need that unmistakably human touch, a real perspective, something that cannot be stitched together from prompts, that kind of voice that breathes life into a world, into its characters, and into how that game makes you feel. AI is obsessed with perfection, even though it's not perfect itself. Humans are messy, complicated, inconsistent, and sometimes it's those flaws that shine through the brightest. This is such a weird and interesting conversation that I never see handled with a shred of nuance. In a lot of cases, people are virtue signaling in one way or the other. It's either the worst thing or the best thing. You need to either get with it or go without it, and I just don't really necessarily see that being the case. I can easily see a lot of these corporations seeing it as their ultimate solution to their problems, where they can use it to call their workforces and boil everything down to being able to just make anything they want with a simple command input. But I just don't really think that's the way. I don't think that's going to work, not at least for every industry, definitely not for creative. That's the first part of the struggle at the moment. But I think that you're going to have some people that are going to know what they're doing. That they're going to use this technology, they're going to use their skill, they're artists, they're musicians, and they're going to create some of the greatest games that you've ever seen by using this AI to its absolute limit. As this technology continues to grow and gets more complex and complicated, you're going to see some wild stuff that people are going to be able to make in the future. I always had this dream or this idea that you would likely see games that genuinely have different experiences for every single person who plays them, because the game is generating an experience based off of you. Everything you do. And nobody could ever actually have it. Born again! But you're also going to have a lot of people that are out there that are going to think that this technology can do everything for them, and that's what they want it to do. And I think in some cases it'll get to that point where they'll be able to do that, but I don't think it's going to be able to deliver a similar product. Maybe it might. In some cases, you're going to see both of those groups succeed. You're going to see the people that know what they're doing and the people that don't or have no interest in it, and both of them are going to have success. But you're also going to have a group of scammers that are out there. They're going to try to separate you from your money using it. So that's something to keep in mind. That's why I'm really happy when I look at Steam and I see that they're not being fatalistic or they're not just ignoring it, and instead they just make it an active conversation between the developer and the audience. And I think that's the way that it should be. You shouldn't try to stand in front of progress. I think that you should try to embrace it the best that you can, but it's important to be able to at least disclose what's going on. As this technology is today, it is in a way where we need to know if it's being used. Because personally, if somebody tells me, oh, all the art in our game is AI generated, I'm going to want to look at the art to make sure that it's not and it's going to devalue my experience. If it all looks cool, that's great, that's awesome, but it's going to make me a little bit more wary, especially when it comes to things like voice acting or translations. That stuff very hit or miss. So yeah, but eventually the technology is going to get better. It's going to improve, and at one point in time, it's going to be indistinguishable from the real thing. I guess there's some technical conversations to have, but I don't know. I'm one of those people where I'm pretty easy to say that easy to please, but hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it, comment down below. Tell me if you guys have ran into anything or what your worries for the future. Oh, follow me on Twitch. If you guys haven't followed me on Twitter, catch me live on Fridays. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Thank you guys for watching this video. I'll catch you next time.
Your legend has come to an end, Star-Lord.
I'm going to try to keep it together here. Just last year, Phil Spencer, the CEO of Xbox, stepped forward to say that increasing prices over $70 would be manipulative. Do I need to say anything more? Do not trust these people. And please, stop defending them. Xbox was the last company that I would have expected to join the price hike for. Because while I will largely applaud them for getting rid of console exclusivity, I think that that's generally a good thing. And I know that there is a broader strategy to these price increases. It still doesn't make sense. Not from a player's perspective, and definitely not even from a business perspective. Outside of a couple of decent games, Xbox first-party titles just aren't good. People are not going to be lining up to spend $80 on an Xbox game right now. You might get a handful, not nearly as many as you're going to see. And it feels like every single time they go to pick up a publisher or a studio, they find a way to ruin it in one way, shape, or form. Except for Activision Blizzard King, and, well, you can't necessarily ruin what is already effectively video game Satan, so there you go. You don't have the faith of the vast majority of players that play video games today. You are the weakest of the three platform holders. You are years behind in console sales, and you're increasing prices across the board. What are you doing? I know you're terrified. Because Xbox, like all of these other companies, have built their castles on sand. Because of rising development costs, because you guys consolidated your industries overseas and now are threatened by tariffs. Because piracy is on the rise. Because indie developers are putting out breakout hits. Because the EU Commission is now targeting microtransactions. The tide is coming in, and you're all about to be washed out. Initially through GameStop, Xbox announced price hikes across the board, increasing the price of digital games up to $80 starting next year, and increasing the price of their hardware and accessories anywhere from $20 to $30 to even charging $729 for the Xbox Series X 2TB console. More expensive than the PlayStation 5 Pro. Pricing yourself higher than your competition who's outselling you 3-to-1 is a bold strategy and not one that I was expecting. At the end of my Oblivion video, I had said I don't trust these companies to make smart choices, and I hate being right. At first, I thought Xbox was pricing the Oblivion remaster at $50 as a direct response to Nintendo increasing their prices and dropping their Zelda remaster at $90. And honestly, I still think it was. Asmongold nailed it on Twitter. He said that 2025 and 2026 will be the years of remasters and remakes, cheap to create compared to a new game, quantifiable existing audience, boost visibility for upcoming titles, Gears of War E-Day, little to no risk of controversy or boycott, literally the easiest W in the industry right now. Honestly, I cannot believe that this guy can find time to post industry insights while also doing home improvement. But honestly, he's not wrong, especially when that remaster is as transformative as Oblivion's, and especially if it's priced fairly. New releases are a minefield right now, plagued by creative missteps, content that nobody asked for, and player backlash. So returning to the past makes sense. Players want something familiar, something proven. Reviving these beloved games with modern upgrades is a great way to answer that call while avoiding any backlash that's been plaguing a lot of these new IPs and modern releases. Though, Oblivion censorship has raised some eyebrows. But the part that Asmon glossed over, the part that deserves a little bit more attention here, is that this isn't just a visibility boost. It's Xbox clawing back into relevance. These aren't just nostalgic remasters, these are cultural recall grenades. And with the $40 Gears of War remaster seemingly aiming at the exact same level of quality as the Oblivion one, Xbox has found a strategy that actually makes sense. Cost-effective, high-quality reminders of what the brand used to be and used to stand for. These games aren't locked behind exclusivity either, they're multi-platform, meaning that Xbox gets to reintroduce itself to players they've either lost or never had. And I'll be honest, I think this is smart. But here's the problem, it completely undercuts their justification for the price hikes everywhere else. Let's be real, Xbox is the last company that should be selling $80 games. Their recent titles have not earned it. When I think of an $80 game, I can maybe spend that on Elden Ring, Baldur's Gate 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Armored Core 6, games that gave me something complete, something real. I'm not thinking Halo Infinite, Avowed, or Starfield, and sure, that's subjective, but it's also about standards. Larian, Warhorse, From Software, they're not milking players through microtransactions, they're not nickel and diming people with battle passes and half-baked launches, they sell you a game. That's it. Now, Xbox, on the other hand, survives off the back of Call of Duty microtransactions and reoccurring subscription revenue. Their games have not hit. Their platform sales are down, and now, with the excuse of Nintendo increasing their prices to $80, opening the floodgates, Xbox is the first in line to raise their prices across the board. Games, hardware, all of it. Doesn't feel strategic. It feels desperate. I mean, just last year, Phil Spencer said that raising prices beyond $70 could become manipulative. In his words, we went through COVID, we found more ways of getting more money per player. I think that at some point, you reach the peak of that, and frankly, it could go to places that are manipulative, and I'm not a big fan of that. Then, Microsoft would then go on to record $94 billion in profit. They would then double their growth. Their valuation hits $3.4 trillion, and suddenly, we are expected to believe that they have to increase prices because of rising development costs and economic uncertainty. Snakes in the grass slither fast. I said this in my Oblivion video, and I'm going to say it again. Xbox may be the weakest platform right now, but that's exactly what makes them the most dangerous. With Game Pass and cross-platform releases, they can undercut their competition on their competition's own platforms, but instead of using that power to offer better value, they're just hiking their prices like everyone else. They issued a statement saying, "We understand that these changes are challenging, and they were made with careful consideration given conditions and the rising cost of development." Sure, careful consideration. Until you realize the whole thing is just them passing the buck to the players. You know, everybody wants to pin these price hikes on the U.S. trade war, and while that might be an agitator, I'm not buying it. Xbox is behind in the console race. You really don't think that there isn't a stockpile of unsold hardware somewhere? That Xbox that you're buying off the shelf right now wasn't made yesterday. It was made months ago. If these tariffs were such a serious issue, they could just slow down production, stagger the releases. Hell, with the profits that they're pulling in, they could eat the costs and not even feel it. But they won't, because tariffs are just a convenient scapegoat. And even if they were rescinded tomorrow, these prices would stay the exact same. What absolutely drives me up the wall is how transparent this whole thing is. These price hikes are a direct consequence of poor planning. Rising costs wouldn't be a factor if you hadn't bet your entire hardware operation in one country. If it wasn't for tariffs, it would have been something else. Supply chain failure, political unrest, a factory fire. These are self-inflicted wounds. So why is this happening? Why are all of these companies hiking their prices, slashing jobs, and trying to gaslight us into thinking it's all for our benefit? Well, the real answer is investor pressure. That's it. Gaming has become a hotbed for investors. It's not like traditional industries. Once hardware is out of the way, it's your margin for the most part. No factories, no trucks, no physical goods, just code. And once they got your attention, they can sell you the exact same pixels over and over again. That's what they're protecting. Not the cost of development, but the rate of return. Live service games have become the golden goose in this industry. Infinite growth, infinite spend. You don't need to sell a game anymore. You sell a lifestyle. Look at Take-Two. Their entire business is propped up by two things: GTA Online and NBA 2K's microtransaction economies. EA, the same thing. FC, formerly FIFA, Madden, Apex Legends, 3 live service ecosystems that print money daily. Activision Blizzard, the only reason that they were worth $70 billion for Microsoft was because of World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. No innovation, no creativity, just predictable revenue. And it's that predictable revenue that has completely warped the conversation around development costs. We keep hearing about how games are more expensive to make than ever, but what they won't say out loud is they are the ones who made it that way. You do not get to cry poor after making billions of dollars in revenue, hiring thousands of people across a dozen studios, scaling up to unsustainable sizes, and then acting shocked when your overhead crushes your margin. GTA 6 is the perfect example. That game is taking longer to develop than every GTA combined. That's not because of creative ambition, it's because the machine behind it has become bloated, inefficient, and addicted to scale. That's not spending smarter, that's spending more. And they're expecting us to pay for it. What makes this all the more frustrating is that this industry is not struggling. Not even close. The last 3 years have been defined by record-breaking profits year over year over year. Xbox just had its best year ever. None of these companies are tightening their belts. Their executives aren't taking pay cuts. There's no scaled-back bonuses, just mass layoffs and price hikes because they want to keep the party going at the top while cutting off everything else or just making you pay for it. And that's the thing that they don't want you guys to think about. This isn't about inflation. It's not about tariffs. It's not about rising development costs. It's about control. Xbox wants these price hikes. Ooh, they want them badly, because if they can make traditional gaming so financially exhausting, $80 games, $700 consoles, $100 accessories, so they can herd their players towards services that they can control. Live service games, free-to-play, Game Pass, cloud gaming, controlled storefronts, closed ecosystems. The long game. They're just trying to boil the frog. These guys aren't even competing with each other anymore. It's so transparent. Microsoft buys Activision for $69 billion. Sony buys Bungie for $3.6 billion. These aren't random events. These are symptoms of a market consolidating so aggressively that there is no pressure to undercut each other. No official collusion, just a shared understanding that if they all raise prices together, the customer will have nowhere else to go. And the worst part is they're doing it like it's going to benefit the industry in some way. They blame global instability, rising costs, economic pressure, but they're just using it as a smokescreen to justify whatever their next gamble is, the next experiment. All of it, every last suit is designed to shift the costs of their mistakes onto you. This isn't a strategy, it's survival. It's desperation that's dressed up in a suit and tie. And the more they raise the floor, the more players are going to start looking for the exit. Man, Xbox really loved that quote from Ubisoft. Players need to get comfortable not owning their game. They thought to themselves, that's a strategy. That's a plan we can get behind. Let's make the market so uncomfortable for players to own anything, to own games or to own hardware, that the low-income and middle-income customers are likely to take the bait and go for Game Pass or go for cloud gaming or any of these other services. Because why would I pay $80 when I could pay $20 a month and play all of these games rather than just get one little measly game? I mean, these services are so fair, they're so cheap, they're so effective until next year or the year after that, or because of rising development costs and economic uncertainty, the price has to go up by $10 or $15. But don't worry, because just like Netflix, we have an option for you price-sensitive customers. Game Pass Basic with ads, PlayStation Plus Basic with ads, Ubisoft Basic with ads. Then after that, they're going to start selling you frame rates and resolution. We've seen this happen before. I don't understand how people think that this isn't going to happen. I've had people push back on it. That's not what's going to happen. What? Are you stupid? You deserve to pay these prices. Gaming is slowly being monetized into a hellscape like every other industry that's out there, and it's all to attract more investors. Notice how every single year they have to break record profits. Higher, higher, and higher, and higher, without ever trying to lower their floor. The funny thing is, this isn't like any other industry. We have options. We can go anywhere else that we want to. Hell, we're not even buying most of your games to begin with. I don't think that they understand how much trouble that they're in right now. Because, one, I don't even think players are going to buy into this. I'm sure that there's going to be some people that are going to hop on the train of some of these bigger games that are going to come out that we know for a fact are actually good, and if it's $80, people will still pay for it. But for the most part, when I talk to other people about these price changes, when I see my YouTube comments or I see things that people say on Twitter, it's apathy more than anything else. They don't care. Okay, I wasn't going to buy it anyway. That's the attitude that I'm seeing. I mean, all of this price pressure that we're seeing right now is coming from AAA, which nobody's really buying right now. Sure, a couple of those games are doing well, but the vast majority of them are not. Why would I want to spend $80 to play Fable next year when I could use that money to buy 2 Expedition 33? Doesn't make any sense. You know, the worst part is they need to charge a lot more than $80 because the EU is about to pull the rug right out from under. You know what I find interesting? Players aren't yelling anymore, not like they used to. We've been through the same outrage cycle so many times that the tone has shifted. When people are talking about $80 games or $700 consoles now, it's not anger, it's apathy. The reaction isn't don't do this to us, it's go ahead and destroy yours. I think that's where I am with a lot of this right now. I find their missteps to be more entertainment than their games are anymore. The bad games, the price hikes, the censorship, the controversy, sitting back and watching PlayStation continue to chase the live service ghost as Marathon and Arc Raiders drop their alpha tests right next to each other, and the contrast between the two couldn't be any more glaring. Marathon losing players every single day. Their alpha was out while Arc Raiders kept growing. One game feeling like it's going to be the next big thing, and the other one feeling like a trend chaser that's trying to fit in with the cool kids. Again, another game being made by a studio with half of the amount of developers. The highest levels of this industry have become so disconnected and so corporatized that they are blind to what players want. They think that our complaints are nothing more than whining. They listen to their board of directors or their sensitivity training. They're more worried about their next earnings call than the customers. We've become the last thing on their minds. And when you ignore us, we start to ignore you. Your games, your platforms, eventually all of it becomes a symbol for everything that people don't.
You'll need a top-notch
LA
team to win
is
this
in,
one.
again, another riot. This has been about for a while. You can tell, by the way, this is an American protest because there are no American flags.
If they start shooting shit, make sure that the kids are red. Make sure we try to keep ourselves.
Why are there...
A child, tax credits, so many things are being added that we wouldn't even have time to discuss them. When we were doing it, John Thune and Mike Johnson right there. I see Mike. What a job they've done. What a job they've done.
This is the actual No Kings Day?
But you know, it was supposed to be in 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 different bills. And I was on one of the fake news shows and I said, let's do it in one beautiful, big, we want one big, beautiful bill. I said that to this newscaster. And I think a lot of the congressmen and senators were watching, and they said, let's name the bill that. One big, beautiful bill. And that's what we did. And what we've done is put everything into one bill. It's never happened before. It's the biggest bill of its type in history. We've never had anything like that before. Nothing like that they thought would be possible to get passed. And actually, I liked it because we had so much in there that no matter who you are, there was something in that bill that would make your congressman or your senator or your congresswoman, much more importantly, raise their hand and support, right, Lisa? So it was something, and it was really something special. So the American people gave us a historic mandate in November. We won everything. We won the swing states, all 7 swing states. We won every one. That rarely happens. We won the popular vote. We won the districts, 2,750 to 505. That's why when you look at a map, it's all red, a little blue on each end, but it's all red. And by the way, red means Republican, just in case. But we made promises, and it's really promises made, promises kept, and we've kept them. This is a triumph of democracy on the birthday of democracy, and I have to say that the people are happy. They're happy. And I listened to a broadcast, and I read a couple of articles. They have the Democrats, they should have voted for it. They didn't vote for tax cuts. They didn't vote for taking care of people. They didn't vote, not one vote. And we knew that because their hatred of either the country or me or both is so great. They didn't vote at all, and it's terrible. But I just have to say, they have a regime. It's terrible, they say. Terrible, terrible. You saw that guy standing up for hours yesterday. You didn't know what he was even doing there. I said, where's he sitting down? He had a towel. He's wiping his face. That's not too elegant. But what is he? I said, what is he doing for so long? And he didn't criticize the bill. He was criticizing everything else and everything else. So they've developed, and this is according to the news media, they've developed a standard line, and we can't let them get away with it. Oh, it's dangerous. Oh, everybody's going to die. It's actually just the opposite. Everybody's going to live. This is just the opposite. And I just want you to know, if you see anything negative put out by Democrats, it's all a con job. And they said, and they compared it to just like the con job of Russia, 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 and all of the other things they did. The 51 intelligence agents said, and the laptop from hell, it came from Russia, they said. No, it didn't. A lot of things come from Russia. That didn't come from Russia. And it was all proven out to be a fake job, and that's what they're doing with this. So we just have to look forward, fellas, look forward and just say what it is, because it's the most popular bill ever signed in the history of our country, whether you're military or anybody else. This is the most popular bill ever signed.
Is that true?
And it includes the largest tax cut in American history, the largest spending cut, $1.7 trillion.
I don't know.
And yet you won't even notice. It's just waste, fraud, and abuse in American history. So you have the biggest tax cut, the biggest spending cut, the largest border security investment in American history. We want to have strong borders, and the only thing is we want to have great elections too. You need strong borders and elections, and my people have promised me that we're going to go into elections, and we're going to make sure they're not rigged, that they're not sullied. We're going to make sure that the elections are going to be fair. You need two things. You need strong borders and you need fair elections. And we're going to make sure on the elections also, and our armed forces are one of the most vital military modernizations of all time. It will take place. So we rebuilt our military in our first term, and now we're going to modernize and remodernize our military, including building a great golden dome all over our land, so that if they get nasty with us, it's going to be knocked down. It's going to make any of the golden domes, they call them the iron domes, we're calling ours the golden dome, because we did the iron domes, and we do sort of everything, if you want to know the truth, but this blows it away. We're going to keep you safe. I want to thank every member of the House and Senate who worked to get this bill on my desk, and many of them are here, and I'm not going to mention all their names because we'll be standing here, but I have to mention a few, and especially I want to thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's been fantastic.
This can be next president.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who's been incredible. We have somebody that is, it was a passion. I think he actually loved it. It wasn't easy, but he loved it. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who's right here. Speaker, thank you very much. What a job, and he worked so closely with the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, who's a fantastic guy. And those two are a team that is not going to be beat. When you look at them and you look at their counterparts on the other side, it's not even close. I want to thank both of you people for doing an incredible job. Thank you very much, John and Mike. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, a brave man. Steve, you know, he suffered a tragedy a number of years ago. I was at his hospital bedside that night with Melania, with our First Lady, and he had no chance. The doctor said he has very little chance, and you look better today than you did then. You didn't look particularly good that night, I will say. But I learned one thing, his beautiful wife loved him. She was a disaster, right? I told him, I said, Steve, I can only tell you one thing. I was with your family, and I was with your wife, and your wife was devastated. She loves you. I've seen a lot of wives that, you know, they don't seem to be so concerned in those situations. Oh my but that's God. The kind of wife you don't want. But you have a great, beautiful wife who is really there, and you really have done. You're a very brave guy, and Mike and John and everybody that's standing with you knows it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. House Majority Whip, this is the guy who's great. When I have a problem, I call him up, and he gets it done. He's a tough cookie. I don't know why he's not the governor of Minnesota. He comes from Minnesota. He's like, he goes, no, I don't want to run for governor. You know, come to think of it, I think that's a good idea. You would win so easily. The guy is terrible. Let's try this again. You would win. You just have to take a look at that handsome face of yours, and you'd win. Tom Emmer, everybody. Oh, geez. He did a great job. I think you should consider that, although we don't want to lose him, do we? We don't want to. Let's stay where you are. I think maximum. 8 more. What a job you did. And Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso, who's incredible. Senate Finance Chairman Mike Crapo. Thank you, Mike. What a job. What a job. He knows that tax stuff. Him and Jason, they really know their stuff. Senate Budget Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham. What a good man he is. I see a poll. He's running, and I see a poll. He's 24 points up. That's not bad, Lindsey. That's not bad. 24 points up. And great state of South Carolina. House Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith. What a job. Thank you, Jason. Thank you. These people are great. These are great patriots. I have to call them out. House Budget Committee Chairman Jody Arrington. Jody, thank you very much. Jody has been good right from the beginning, and so many others, and they're all here, and they fully understand. They'll never speak to me again, but that's okay. It is what it is, but I just want to thank everybody. A lot of senators here, a lot of congressmen and women here. Lisa, thank you very much, by the way. I have to thank you. Thank you very much. You've been fantastic. So this bill will fuel massive economic growth and lift up the hardworking citizens who make this country run. The factory workers, farmers, mechanics, waiters, waitresses, police officers, firefighters, coal miners. Coal is back. Beautiful. I said you can't use the word coal. unless you precede it by saying clean, beautiful coal. It's what, you know, China's right now building 68 coal generating plants. And we're putting up wind. Doesn't work. Aside from ruining our fields and our valleys and killing all the birds, being very weak and very expensive, all made in China. You know, I noticed something that with all of the windows that China sends us, where we waste our money because the most expensive energy, I see that, you know, they make about 95% of them, the wind turbines. I have never seen a wind farm in China. Why is that? Somebody check that out. Tom Emmer, would you please check that out? But all the coal miners we love and the truck drivers, and this act, we have officially made the Trump tax cut permanent. That's the largest tax cut in the history of our country, added to substantial other cuts, which is you're going to see like a rocket ship. You know, we're setting all sorts of economic records right now, and that's before this kicks in. After this kicks in, our country is going to be a rocket ship economically, and we've delivered no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors.
Can they just do no tax?
And that's why when you hear things like that, this is the most it's the biggest bill of its kind ever done by far. But it's we are going to have a situation, we are going to have something where people are going to realize the level of success and popularity of this bill, and sort of to close it out, it makes the child tax credit permanent for 40 million American families, and to increase the car affordability, it makes interest on a new car payment. So this had never happened before. You buy a car, you borrow money, you're allowed to deduct for income tax purposes your payment of interest, you're allowed to deduct it. It's never happened before, so run out and buy a car. But I have to tell you, it's only good, Mike, if it's made in America. If it's made in another country, you don't get it.
She has to sit there and listen to this
And
shit.
to protect 2 million family farms and other small businesses, we're eliminating the estate tax or the death tax. So if you want to leave, your farm or your small business, but the farms are really, they have been devastating to your children, if you love your children. By the way, if you don't love your children, don't even listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. But if you love, yes, I think you love your child. This one loves Barron. So I don't know if we're a small business. I think we're not. I'm not sure that we qualify. I'm sorry, darling. But you know, it was devastating. Farmers had to go out and borrow money. And by the way, is that Pam Bondi? Pam Bondi, raise your hand. Thank you, Pam, for being here. Attorney General, she's done an incredible job. So there won't be any, think of this, there won't be any death tax. You're not going to have to go borrow money. Your parents pass away and the farm goes into the bank's hands and gets foreclosed. That's not going to happen. And with 100% expensing for new investments, we're cutting taxes for every manufacturer who builds, expands. And we have expansion at the highest level that we've ever had it. We have hundreds of factories, including car plants and AI. It's coming into our country at levels that we've never seen. And to conclude, not only will we have the strongest economy on earth, we're also going to have the strongest borders on earth. And last month, did you see the number? 0 people crossed our border.
Wow.
0 illegal people. And that's after Joe Biden let 21 million people, many of them people from gangs and prisons and drug lords and people that were mentally unbalanced. They let them into our country. We're getting them out at record numbers, and we have an obligation to, and we're doing it. So as we approach the 250th anniversary of America's founding exactly 1 year from now, we are creating an economy that delivers wealth for the middle class, a border that is sovereign and secure, and a military that is unmatched, unequaled anywhere in the world. And you saw that. And what a beautiful sight that was, especially after watching what they did just a short while ago. The golden age of America is upon us. We are in the golden age. It's going to be a period of time, the likes of which I don't think this country has ever